All right, good Friday afternoon, everyone. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. We have a very potent winter storm that's coming in to the area this weekend with potential significant ice storm with power outages, tree limb damage, everything like that, heavy snowfall, some places getting over a foot of snowfall. And then we have severe weather even to talk about. And then on the backside of this system, the snow is going to come a little bit further south. And then wind chills on Monday morning could be below zero across parts of the area. And then this is just the first of many waves of Arctic weather or Arctic air to come into the area. All right, so we're live on YouTube right now. We had some issues on Facebook earlier. So if you're joining us on YouTube, please hit that like button, comment where you're from, tell us what the weather's going on in your area. We'd love to hear from you. And then hit that subscribe button. It's basically like following a page on Facebook. Hit that subscribe button, hit all on notifications, and every time we post video content or go live on YouTube, you will be notified on your phone, on your computer, anywhere you're signed in at. You'll be notified that we posted content, and then you can immediately find out the absolute latest information over on YouTube as well. So it's another great tool that we have for you all to stay informed of what's going on. All right, let's take a look and see where this actual storm system is at right now. And then we're going to take a look at a few different model runs as well. Reminder, this is probably going to be a little bit of a long live stream. So if you join, maybe a little bit later, you can also rewind this and go back and watch it after this live is over. All right, let's take a look at the latest satellite picture, visible satellite picture showing you where the storm is at. All right, here is the beast that's going to create absolute havoc over basically most of the central United States, over towards the eastern parts of the United States as well. It is still offshore. We're starting to get some weather balloon samples into the far fringes of the system, but you can see this big rotation here. It's still off the coast, so we may not get a sample on this until later tonight. So there is still some discrepancies in the track, and I'm going to show you that here in just a second. You see, what's interesting here is you see these little vortices on the backside of this low pressure system. That's really interesting is too, because there's like basically this little tiny low pressures coming around this massive storm system that's coming on shore. All right, so like I said, they're starting to get samples on this to ingest it into the computer models, and this thing will come on shore later this evening and tonight, and then we'll get a full sample on it probably later tonight, and then um, tomorrow's models will start really honing in at who's going to get what. But there has been a notable southern trend over the past 24 to 48 hours across a lot of the models. All right, we're going to go over the severe weather aspect first, get this out of the way, and then we're going to go over all the winter weather details here in just a second. But slight risk over Sunday, basically southeastern Arkansas, most of Mississippi, including Jackson, over towards Shreveport, Monroe, all of the state of Louisiana is in on this, and then parts of eastern Texas. Tornadoes, or a couple isolated tornadoes is possible. Straight line winds is going to be the main threat here, but there is going to be a severe weather side to this, unfortunately, across parts of this area. All right, let's go over the latest hazard map across the United States. There is a lot going on. So, as this system moves into the northwest, basically that big upper level low feature will create a lot of snow up here in parts of Montana. And then, as you see, there is plenty of winter weather advisories all the way down the plains here through Nebraska into Kansas now in response to this system as well. So there's going to be a handoff here as well as a surface low starts developing out here towards parts of the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma and starts swinging east. But like I said, as we go east here, there is winter storm warnings already in effect for most of central to eastern Kansas here, through west central Missouri, northern Missouri, all the way from basically from Kansas City through I-70, all the way to St. Louis. Winter storm warnings there. There's winter storm watches on the northern fringe of this. Haven't been upgraded to warnings yet because there's a lot of dry air pushing down. There's a huge high pressure pushing down here, 1040 plus millibar high, trying to push down. So there's going to be a lot of dry air trying to push into this system as well. So there's going to be a major cutoff in basically from people getting no snow to possibly people getting 4, 8, 12 plus inches of snow here. So there's a lot of uncertainty on the northern fringes of this system as these models are starting to trend a little bit further south, which we expected that. If you watched me the other day, we fully expected this to happen. All right. So as you get towards south central Missouri, southeastern Missouri, there's winter storm watches still, but this is an ice storm warning. This is going to be a major icing event across parts of Missouri down here. We're going to go over all the latest, but I'm thinking probably at least a quarter to half an inch, probably higher, locally higher amounts, up to 3/4 of an inch possible, and that's going to create some major issues on power, tree limb damage, and travels. It's going to be absolutely a nightmare throughout most of this area. And when we get this ice and snowpack down through this area, this is going to stay there for a while because, like I said, we have this Arctic blast coming in, and travel could be impacted for quite a while, especially on those secondary roads, those gravelly roads, stuff like that across this area. Now, winter storm watches are in effect most of Kentucky towards West Virginia into Virginia now as well. Indiana, parts of Ohio, in response to the system coming in. There'll be some more updates on these warnings and advisories, etc. And I just read some interesting things about Springfield. There's still, like I said, there's still highly uncertain on where exactly The freezing line is going to set up and stay across parts of their forecast area. And that's why there is some uncertainty on how far south they should issue some of these warnings and advisories. So they're kind of taking a back seat at the moment, waiting on this system to come on shore to really get a sample on it to see exactly where this is going to go. Now, this, like I said, this has been trending. A lot more backlash snows as well, possibly into Oklahoma and northern Arkansas, even down here towards Tennessee as well. So as we get towards later Sunday night into Monday, there'll probably be some more advisories issued a little bit further south as well as this system really starts wrapping up and pressing east. All right, let's take a look at the latest Canadian. So this is the Canadian Model 12Z. So let's go forward here, and you can see the low pressure starts developing out here in parts of New Mexico into Colorado, and then it starts transitioning out off to parts of Oklahoma. Very heavy snow, even back into parts of Denver, even through most of Nebraska, parts of North Dakota. As this low is coming down, you can see up here, big 1046 high pressure pushing down as this system tries to move east. You see very heavy freezing rain developing off here, just basically east of Highway 65 in Missouri, basically east of Springfield, over towards West Plains, maybe even towards Rolla as well. So very heavy freezing rain there. And freezing rain starting, like I said, this has been trending a little bit more further south as we've been going the last 24 hours. This has got freezing rain getting into parts of far northern, northeastern, far north central, northeastern Arkansas as well. So as we get going here, basically this low pressure will basically start getting stacked with the upper level low and then develop another surface low off east. And that's where this one will take over. And then we have backlash snows into parts of Oklahoma, into parts of northwest Arkansas, very heavy sleet just north of this freezing rain, basically along and north of this Arkansas state line, and then into parts of Kentucky as well, Kentucky, Tennessee state line. Very heavy freezing rain, and then transitioning to sleet, to snow past there. And then getting really cold. You see the thicknesses really coming down here, 528 thicknesses. And then, basically, like I said, backlash snows could make it maybe even all the way down towards Memphis as we get towards Monday going forward. So, like I said, there could be some advisory criterias because this could impact travel because of all this cold air that's starting to come into the pattern. Now, this will transition off east as well, and it's going to create an absolute mess over here towards the mid-Atlantic, Kentucky, West Virginia, into Virginia as well. Sleet, freezing rain, and snow. And then this thing is going to get out of here from there. All right. So like I said, if you're just now joining us, this is going to be a very lengthy live because we're going to go over each model, showing you what's happening with it. Also, when we're done with this live, you can always go back and rewatch it. So when some of those questions come in and asking about, well, what about here, what about there, you need to go back and watch some of the previous content that we've already covered. But let's go. That is the Canadian model. All right, so this is the latest snowfall output from the Canadian. This is not a forecast. I'm just showing you trends. Okay, so this has very heavy snow across parts of Kansas in through Kansas City. This one model, like I said, it's not a forecast, throwing out 18 inches of snow in parts of Kansas City. I'm not sure if I buy that much, but it could be possible. And almost 2 feet of snow up here by St. Joseph, Missouri. That's crazy amounts of snow. And you see backlash snows as this low starts really winding up and coming east. You could look at this. You could have some snow all the way down here towards south central parts of or southeastern parts of Oklahoma. And look at here, northern Arkansas starting to get into it as well. Maybe an inch or two up here towards the state line. Springfield, sorry, Fayetteville has it around an inch, maybe 2 inches around Bentonville. It's got 3 inches around Joplin. So this is a notable uptick in trends lately. So this is the central part of the area. I'm going to go east here, and as you can see in your far corner of your screen, Memphis even getting in on it, on the action on this backlash snows as this low passes by. Even very nasty icing could be happening if this model came true. Like I said, we're going over trends here, not forecasts yet. So quarter to half an inch possible through if this model came true across parts of Kansas. And this even has about 2/10 of an inch of ice around Springfield. I want to say probably on the southern periphery of this, it may start out as freezing rain and then change to rain before that low pressure really wraps in the cold air. So a glaze, look, you see as some of these this model here is getting ice into parts of far north central northeastern Arkansas. But as you cross the state line, this thing has an 8/10 of an inch up here towards Poplar Bluff. West Plains has 7/10 of an inch. Like I said, temperatures 1 or 2 degrees is going to matter big time across this area. We may have to nowcast this, especially across southern Missouri into far northern Arkansas, because if temperatures stay 33 degrees, 34 degrees, your icing will go down big time, which will help cut down on these amounts. Now, it could go the other way if it, go wet bulbs down to 32, 31, possibly 30 degrees and stays there for a long period of time. This icing could be very significant. So, anybody in far north central, far northeastern Arkansas, especially South Central Missouri, needs to stay up on the weather, because this could, like I said, this forecast could rapidly change, and you could easily be on the icing scenario here as we go into late Saturday night into Sunday across the region. But this is a very nasty scenario here, as there's already ice storm warnings up across parts of this area, and these may expand further south as we go forward, as models get a lot more consistent, especially when we get this system sampled by this weekend, or I'm sorry, by late tonight into early tomorrow morning. All right, I'm going to go back to the national view here. I'm going to speed this up just a little bit, because I'm sure you all don't want to listen to every single detail here. So, like I said, backlash snows could be coming, as if this model came true. This is the Canadian still, all the way back into parts of northern Mississippi, even northern Alabama, if this came true. Same way with Tennessee. And then as you get north towards parts of Kentucky here, as you get into the pinks here, it goes 5, 6, 7, 8 inches of snow. Higher terrain up here in West Virginia is going to get absolutely plastered. And then up here towards Virginia, towards Maryland as well, all the way over towards Delaware even. A nice little 4 to 8 inch band of snow, maybe a little bit higher amounts as we go forward. Now, let's see if I can get the icing pulled up here really quick. There we go. All right, so here's the icing scenario going all the way through time here. So, like I said, Kentucky all the way through. This model has just an absolute epic ice storm all the way through Paducah, Kentucky, even through parts of Kentucky here. So, a half an inch to an inch of ice, according to the Canadian, which is not good at all. Like I said, this was a notable trend south over the past 12 to 18 hours or so, because a lot of this, especially even Paducah area, all this was way further north 24 hours ago. And like I said, if you've been joining me for a while, we know that models do not handle true Arctic air at all very well. And it always trends further south as we get closer to the event. And this is exactly what is happening. All right, so very devastating ice storm that could come if this model came true. But there's the latest trends on the Canadian. Like I said, further south, look there. All right, we're going to go over towards the European model here. All right, got it back full screen. All right, so go to the European, and you see very heavy snows. You see the notable trend south with this as well. About 24, 36 hours ago, this model had no snow, basically south of basically US 60 and across southern Missouri and northern Arkansas. Now it's showing possibly upwards of an inch across far, far northern Arkansas, southern Missouri now, maybe 2 inches. And then as you head up here towards Kansas City, this is where it really starts getting heavy up here. 12 to 16 inches of snow all the way back into parts of Kansas. This is the European model. And as you see, if you joined me earlier, when I was going over watches, you can see as that high was pressing down, look at the sharp cutoff and basically people getting nothing to it ramping up really quickly to getting almost 6, 7, 8+ inches of snow. That's why there's uncertainty. That's why those watches have not been upgraded, because there's still uncertainty on how far north the heavier snow is going to come. Warning criteria up here in southern Iowa into parts of Illinois is 6 inches, I do believe. So it has to exceed 6 inches to get a winter storm warning up that way. So this individual model only has an inch in far parts of southeastern parts of Iowa, where some of those winter storm watches are up right now. So notable trend south with this. This heavier snow about 2 days ago was up north here into parts of southern Iowa. You see the changes. Now, backlash snows possibly into Tennessee. Far northern Tennessee could get an inch plus, and then parts of Kentucky here 6 to 10 inches, and then like I said, West Virginia over towards Virginia could get clobbered with 4 to 8 plus, and then higher amounts in the mountains as well. Ice has come further south with this model as well. You can see it really upticks as you get to south central Missouri. Some places, like I said, quarter, half an inch plus, possibly up to 3/4 of an inch. And then same all the way over towards Kentucky, possibly getting into parts of Tennessee, even a glaze to a tenth of an inch. It only takes a glaze to make travel an absolute nightmare across the area. So need to stay up in there. But here's the latest European. Let's take a look. I want to show you kind of an outlier model, but I can't discount it. So let's take a look at that. It's called, I believe it's the EPS model. All right, so here is the CFS model. Sorry if I misspoke there. So low pressure developing a little bit further south here in response to this big upper level low coming down through here. You see this big 1039 high pressing down with that drier, colder Arctic air coming down. And as we get closer, you can see this low pressure really dig south. Like I said, this is kind of an outlier at the moment, but I can't discount this because the system hasn't been sampled. And I've seen these time and time again. As a storm gets sampled, we get 24 hours out for the event. And there's been some shifts in the past of 1, 2, 300 miles south with this low, and that creates major headaches and people off guard. So I'm trying to show you everything that could happen, and then you can basically get prepared regardless of how you want to get prepared throughout the area. This is how we do it here. We put everything on the table for you all, so you can make a decision what you need to do to protect your life and property and your household, stuff like that. Okay. So as we get closer here, you see this low pressure basically takes a Red River track and then starts cutting up towards southern Arkansas here. Lots of heavy freezing rain into parts of northern Arkansas. You can see it's really bringing in that colder air faster. So freezing rain, northern Arkansas, turning to sleet, southern Missouri, and then heavy snow in parts of Missouri, back into parts of Oklahoma, into Kansas. Like I said, this is an outlier at the moment, but we cannot discount this at all at the moment. High pressures continue to bring down a lot of those winter storm watches up here in parts of Iowa into central Illinois. snow wouldn't even happen there if this model came true. So very heavy snow, even south of St. Louis, if this happened, all the way back into snow, all the way back into Memphis, rain changing to snow into Memphis, northern parts of Mississippi, most of Arkansas here, parts of Tennessee, Kentucky, towards Tennessee as well, and all the way out towards Virginia as this thing gets out of here. So, like I said, this is kind of an outlier at the moment, but we can't discount it because we've seen stuff like this time and time and time again as these systems come on shore over the Pacific Northwest and get sampled. We've seen notable tracks south, and we've seen that slowly with the European and the Canadian GFS, etc. So I wanted to show you this, like I said, showing you all the different scenarios that could happen across the board here with that could happen over this weekend. So let's take a look. I'm going to show you what could happen if this model came true across this area. Alrighty, like I said, this is not a forecast showing you trends. So this is the CFS model. This is the furthest south solution that could happen. All right, so this is just snowfall as we get into parts of Sunday into Sunday night into Monday. So you can see the snowfall is a lot further south, upwards of 3 to 6 inches across parts of northern Oklahoma, even into parts of northern Arkansas. Nice little 3 to 6 inches, but then it really ramps up as you get into southern Missouri, getting into the 6 to 10 inch and 12 to 18 inch band just south of St. Louis, running all the way over from basically, I want to say maybe Cape Girardeau, all the way over towards southern Illinois, through Kentucky, all the way through West Virginia into Virginia as well. Like I said, there's a little computer glitch right here, so that's not going to happen there. But you see, snow could possibly get all the way farther south as parts of Little Rock, even Memphis, northern Alabama, Mississippi. Like I said, but this is the furthest south solution. But we cannot discount this model at this time because of prior experience with these storms, especially when they get sampled. And we've seen time and time again where these notable shifts have happened 100, 200, 300 miles further south than what the current models show. All right. All right, and finally, we're going to get into what the National Weather Service is saying, what they're predicting at this time. But like I said, there could be notable changes coming in the next 12 hours or so. I've actually started making some maps for our forecast maps, but I kind of stopped because the system is not on board yet on shore. So we'll probably make those later tonight, and then I will post those over on our Facebook page. And then I'll have another video tomorrow going over all the latest with what's happening with the models and the trends here as well. Before I let you go here's the National Weather Service, what they're thinking. And then I'm going to show you a couple different things at the end of this, where these low pressure tracks and if there's a big spread still or not on some of these models. All right. So here's the latest what the National Weather Service thinks. I'm going to do this first, and then I'll zoom into some local areas here where we have a lot more people tuning in. So far northern, this is backlash snows possibly into Oklahoma with possibly a dusting upwards to an inch, basically north, right around I-44-ish from Oklahoma City up towards the Missouri state line. And then far northern Arkansas, possibly a dusting. Then as you get into Missouri, it starts really ramping up. This has a nice 8 to 16-inch band, basically from north central parts of Kansas, all the way through Kansas City, just north of St. Louis, through basically Springfield, Missouri, or Springfield, Illinois, that is, sorry, and then through Indiana, Ohio, and through parts of West Virginia into Maryland. Okay, so that's what the National Weather Service is thinking. But like I said, there could be notable changes coming over the next 12 to 16 hours or so as this system comes on shore and really gets sampled later today. All right, so how much ice we talking about the National Weather Service is thinking? Let's take a look at that. All right, here's what the National Weather Service is thinking on icing. And there is a notable trend a little bit further south here. As you see, parts of northern Arkansas could get a glaze. And even as you get towards the border here, it could be 5/100ths of an inch, close to a tenth. Then as you head into south central Missouri, basically east of Highway 65, east of Springfield, that's when this notable changes really start ramping up to a quarter to three-quarters of an inch of ice scenario here. And I forgot to show you one slide here on the ice damage index as well. We're going to look at that because, like I said, some of these amounts could exceed a quarter, half an inch, possibly three-quarters of an inch across parts of Missouri into southern Illinois, into parts of Kentucky as well. And the National Weather Service is starting to push some of these ice totals down into parts of northern Tennessee, into the Cumberland Plateau, but basically here as well, a glaze to possibly a tenth of an inch, and then more freezing rain on the other side of the mountains over here towards Virginia as well. All right, so this is the ice accumulation index, basically ice damage index as well. It shows ice amounts versus wind speeds and what could happen, damage and impact descriptions. So if you get, a tenth of an inch to a quarter of an inch of ice at 15-25 mile per hour winds, which could be possible over parts of the area, there's going to be some isolated or localized utility interruptions are possible, typically lasting only a few hours. Roads and bridges may become slick and hazardous. Now, as we get up to the level two, which is a quarter to a half inch at 15-25 mile per hour winds, scattered utility interruptions expected, typically lasting 12 to 24 hours. Roads and travel conditions may be extremely hazardous due to ice accumulations. Now, we get up to a level three here, which is possible across parts of the area here, and even possibly even a four. I'll go over that. So a half an inch to three-quarters of an inch of ice at 15-25 mile per hour winds. Numerous utility interruptions with some damage to main feeder lines and equipment expected. Tree limb damage is excessive. Outages lasting 1 to 5 days could be possible, especially with some of these wind speeds coming into the area. All right. So level four, if you get greater than three-quarters of an inch, basically a quarter inch to an inch of ice at 15-25 mile per hour winds, you're talking about prolonged and widespread utility interruptions with extensive damage to main distribution feeder lines and some high voltage transmission lines. Outages lasting possibly 5 to 10 days, possible if you get some of these excessive ice amounts that are being forecasted by the National Weather Service, especially over parts of southeastern parts of Missouri into Kentucky, which they're expecting upwards of possibly a half an inch to three-quarters of an inch, possibly a little bit higher. So we have to, I would go ahead, if you're in those areas, plan on outages lasting upwards of a week, maybe a little bit higher than that, especially in the rural areas, and then hope for the best. Okay, but you need to prepare for this just in case you're out of power for a prolonged period of time. All right, so that is the latest, going over all the details basically on the further on some of the solutions that are basically middle ground approaches, and then an outlier, which is a further southern track as well. Like I said, here's the latest current hazards on your screen. And if you're just now joining us, there's plenty of content. As soon as we're done with this, you could go back, rewatch it as well. But here's the latest winter storm warnings for Kansas over towards Missouri. Ice storm warnings, parts of south central into southeastern parts of Missouri as well. And then winter storm watches have been extended further south now into most of Kentucky, all the way over towards Virginia, into West Virginia, parts of Ohio, or Indiana, into parts of Illinois. Like I said, these northern fringes is going to be in a big question, and I showed you why on some of those models because that big high pressure pressing down. There could be some areas not get anything in a county, and then you get to the southern part of the county, they could have 6 inches of snow. That's just how rapid this cutoff could be across the northern fringes here. So there's going to be a lot of changes possibly over the next 12 to 18 hours. Join us over on Facebook as well. We'll have some briefings over there, and we'll be live again tomorrow going over all the latest.